That is conduit hanging out your fucking wall, you rough twat. Look at
It's
fucking
not
state.
conduit. Where?
What would you use for a
Where?
What would you use for a shovel, for a trowel? Who plastic
Where?
that in? There, look. Oh no, it's a fucking plastic. It's a thing.
It's not, you stupid
Yeah.
bastard. It's an empty box with 4 data cables hanging out
sorry,
of it.
I think that's.
I haven't put them away
That's
yet. I've got to get the RJ40.
Fucking C3. It's a fucking C3.
It's not.
You've not even signed it off, and it's a C3.
No, it's data, you moron. It's not connected. I've got a patch panel in under the stairs, and then once I've got that sorted out and a radial for that, then I'll go round.
You don't have to make excuses for me, mate.
I'm not making. They're just sitting there waiting. There's 4 data points in each room with a coax, and you just go around and you do the whole lot. Yeah.
What's coax?
A coax.
Coax?
For an aerial.
You use coax?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, I don't use it for mains, do I? I use it for aerial. Aerial points in each room. It's modern. What's wrong with you, frigging moron?
Coax. Coax is out with the fucking. Oh, you don't use coax anymore.
Yes, you do.
Do you?
Yeah. For aerials. I'm going to have an aerial amplifier under the stairs as well.
Sky.
Sky? Hello everybody and welcome to another Conversation Couch with my good self. I'm Paul Meenan, and on the couch today we have Mr. Richard Townsend of napit, or napit depending on.
Yeah, pleased to be down here in the sunny south.
Yes, he is on the, we are sat in Southend on my couch.
Got a passport and everything. I'm from the north.
Yeah. Yeah, he's bought his passport, I've checked it and everything. So Richard, so you've come down, we're talking about industry stuff today. We've been doing some work on some publication.
Yeah, we're doing some
today.
publications and stuff that we're that's in our pipeline. Obviously, it's we've never hidden that we were going to be doing more and more publications. So we're just talking through a few with you.
Yes, and that's one of the really good things of Merit is the guys are working on some more industry books, but bigger context industry books as well, ones that will help maybe the client side of things, maybe above the
very much for
electricians.
the next couple we've got coming out. They certainly are going to be looking at more legislative and mandatory requirements for everybody, not just electricians.
Yeah, definitely. Health and safety and all that is well, it should be a normal behaviour, normalised behaviour within the industry.
A lot of people call it common sense. Lots of people should be doing it anyway.
Yeah,
but some people don't. They don't realise what they should or shouldn't be doing.
The biggest problem with common sense isn't that common nowadays, I find.
No, it's quite rare now.
Yes.
So
where did that come from, by the way?
Common sense, I don't know, but we've had to look at it, and so hopefully we've answered a few questions for a few people.
Good. So, is there any updates on the mighty codebreaker? Are we expecting to see one of them every year or two, or is it going to be every 5 years?
I don't think we're going to be updating it. Obviously, because it follows 7671. As 7671 changes, we've got to make change to it.
That's true.
Provided those changes are relevant enough. It's a big enough change. But if the regulation numbers have changed, or there's more industry guidance we've got to get out there, then obviously codebreaker's got to follow suit. That's
a good point, because one thing I've noted with the codebreaker is, as you rightly said, is there is no code without a regulation number behind it.
Absolutely.
You just can't code anything without a regulation number behind it, otherwise it's just an opinion.
Yeah, it's just you calling it a C3 or a C2, and the way that the forms are written, if the client says, well, I've given that C2, I'm afraid I'd like to call it a C2 isn't a relevant answer. You've got to say, in accordance with 7671, I've given that C2, which is an infringement of XYZ regulation for whatever reason. And
I've also noticed as well that you've copied, or you're attempting to copy, the beard. There is definitely a beard tribute going on.
Mine was there before. Mine's definitely before.
Oh,
and it has been styled several times.
It has been styled, whereas mine is like a kind of a street hobo
you just
effect,
come really. As a homeless person.
Yeah, well, you just wake up and don't bother really. You just put on clothes because someone's visiting, and that's about it.
Blend in at this end of the country with your homeless look. I'm just saying, I just got to put it out there.
It's very difficult trying to maintain the look of a Jedi. Sometimes it can go into that whispery homeless guy. Sometimes when in London, I'll be standing outside the IAT and somebody may pass me and hand me a few pounds for a cup of tea, feeling sorry for me.
That probably wouldn't be me.
No, it won't be you. But anyway, yeah. So we both have beards, which is which is a thing of prevalence now. I never ever thought when I was younger I'd actually have a beard, by the way. I never
For
did.
me, it's about being from the northish and being a bit tight.
Oh yeah, but that's
save on
Winterfell,
razor
isn't
blades,
it? That's Winterfell.
save on razor blades, save on the heating.
Yeah, I can't be asked to shave. My dad used to shave twice a day, and it kind of traumatised all his sons. So none of us really shave that much because it's a cost because they're like ridiculously expensive.
Razors, shaving cream.
Yeah,
waste of valuable time.
Trim it and tidy it. That's about it, really. Anyway, back to the electrical industry. So we've got another book coming out soon, which should be a bit broader and help the industry. Is there any more plans for any more publications from napit, or is it going to be slowly just see how it goes?
I don't really see the mileage in trying to pump out a ton of books that already exist, because it's just making something that already exists. So anything that we do, we're going to try and make it so that it's a little offbeat, a little not quite the norm, not quite the same as everybody else's, or a completely different direction. Codebreaker was a completely different direction. There is one and only. In general, there are other similar kinds of things, but nothing that quite gives everything out.
I'm now going to ask you something really controversial. So I was watching EIC Alexa Facebook Live the other day, and their view was the Electrical Safety First Best Practice Note 4, I believe it is.
Best Practice Guide 4.
4, yes, is the definitive book on guide to EICR coding. And yet in that book, the premature collapse stuff has been very controversial on social media recently. From my perspective, because of my background in railways, the King's Cross fire, and the fact that firemen were impeded 31 years ago from getting into certain places because the cables would collapse, it's always been a default: you will use steel cleats, and for me the regulation on premature collapse in the current regulations is I very much agree on the video you did with Gary. It's a C2 in my world. It's to me it's the first, if I'm going to be honest, ethical or duty bound or moral regulation, the one where you just don't really want to argue with it, because the fact that at least four men have died in recent years from it, it's insane for the cost. I mean, I've recently just gone out and bought a ton of steel tie wraps for my guys to be using, because I don't want plastic anywhere on my railway. And we do have it, and we've had an incident recently where we did have some cables come down off of a bridge. They've gone back up with steel now, so they're going to be secured for years. They won't be an operational incident anymore. But what's your view on the whole them saying it's C3? Because it's a real argument. So give us your view.
Codebreaker we give it twice. We don't just say it's C2.
Okay.
The particular page in question has got 2. So if it has not been installed to take into consideration of premature collapse, that's a C3, because it doesn't follow the latest version of the regulations. However, if it's been installed without consideration to premature collapse and may collapse, or has the potential to collapse and cause an entanglement issue, then that's a C2. So if there's a cable just hanging down there and it's not going to hang down far enough in a fire or a collapse to entangle a firefighter, that would be a C3. But if it was hanging down far enough to catch a firefighter, then that's a C2. So we've not blanket said it must be a C2.
I agree, and I wish the wiring regs would say a bit more clarity. I know they never will, but I do wish, even if there was an update on the guidance notes, where it would say if it was along, say, this wall here, and it was only fouling this wall, and it was dangling, there is minimal risk. However, the door is just to here, and if it collapsed and it obstructed the door, then in a smoky environment, there is risk it can cause entanglement. Even one cable can entangle somebody, and that surely is enough to make that a C2. And it's that pragmatic application of risk that I'm not seeing. The industry is almost too scared to say, oh, well, everything existing, it's non-compliant, it's non-compliant. Well, guess what? People have died. Just because it weren't in the regs ages ago, the regs have always been a minimum guidance note you work from. And if you look at external influences and temperatures anticipated, etc., for me, it's a no-brainer when you look at external influences, to be perfectly frank, because if you look at the fundamental principles, it's to protect persons, property, and livestock, etc., in the normal use and under fault conditions. Now, for me, a fault condition of the fixed electrical installation could also be thermal, a fire.
Absolutely.
and I just find it mind blowing.
Well,
so for me, on railway, it's a C2 all day long. In domestic, or I think in houses of multiple occupation, it's a C2.
It's a C2 in certain areas, but for us again,
okay.
For us again, it's about being an entanglement issue. So if you're in if you're in a block of flats and you go into the stairs, there's a cable that's not secured, and if there's a fire, it collapses, but it only collapses by a couple of feet, which is still a long way from a firefight because it's got a high ceiling. There's an argument that that's a C3 because it's not an entanglement issue, but you need to consider it for premature collapse. So C3. But if the cable's there and it could collapse and fall and possibly entangle a firefighter in any scenario, that's a C2 because you don't know where the fire's going to be. They don't just stick to
you
public
just burn
areas
over there.
when
You just burn now.
Well, you can burn down because you're not in an area that we consider safe. So we'll leave you and we'll just go out here. Firefighters don't work like that. If you give it a C3, it could be a standard C3 for 40, 50, 60 years. Our grandchildren's grandchildren could be putting the C3 on them. That's just the way it works. This is not going to get changed unless it's a C2. It's not a huge cost if a cable's hanging there or it's a risk of premature collapse. Chuck some steel tie wraps in. Maybe use a couple of if it's plastic mini trunking, a couple of the little metal inserts that go inside. They don't have to be all the way along, only just to stop it sagging to catch a firefight, and that's all we're really interested in.
For me as a client, I would really appreciate and respect more a contractor that comes to me and says, we've gone above your suspended ceiling in your office and we've had to put a cable in, but there's a whole load of other stuff there that's basically rubbish. It's all slung across. It could do with some basket or some containment, but as a minimum I would ask them to basically get some steel band or something like that.
All-round band is the favourite.
All-round band, and just put it up
across
and say, look, I'd really like the opportunity to make this a hell of a lot safer. I've done the absolute minimum, that duty of care, which is very important. And I would turn around to that contractor and I'd go, do you know what? The fact that you've highlighted this to me in such a dutiful manner and you've gone above and beyond and done something reasonable and practicable, because this stuff doesn't cost much. And if you're up there, it's quite easy to do. I would ask you to give me a cost to do the work and make it safe and do it right. And that's one thing in the industry I think that a lot more people probably should be doing, or understanding that there's more of an obligation on them as a duty of care to be doing the right thing. Yes, there's a costing, but build it into your costing. If you want to be a great contractor, build it into your costing. And I hear through the wonderful world of the internet, I'll never win a job. Well, a good contractor will pick the clients. He will pick and choose, hopefully, the right clients, and with his good behaviours and his quality of work, he'll always maintain a good repeat business and not have to basically join the race to the bottom, which is sadly,
no, absolutely not.
It is a major issue in our industry, unfortunately. So we've got there's another little book coming out. We're not really anticipating any codebreaker updates until the next regulations are coming out. We've spoke about premature collapse, which is a massive issue. What's your views on, and the 18th is now out in anger, it's been 7 and a bit months, nearly 8. SPDs, seems to be a lot of confusion over SPD, surge protection devices.
I think they're okay in their given area.
Well, in fairness,
I don't have a problem with them. If
the raising and a profile of them,
there's a lot of confusion. The regulations require you to protect your incoming cable. That's what the regulation states. We're looking to protect the incoming cable, generally on a new install. So unless you're going to go and change that, why would you need to go start retrofitting them? I understand changing them on a consumer unit, but you're only protecting the cable at the front. You don't have to do the risk assessment for internally, because that's a completely different affair. Type 2 devices and type 3 devices littered around the building, taking into consideration zone to zone and no more than 10 metres, because the devices and voltage drops and things like that stop working, and you take into consideration coordination between manufacturers and all of that sort of stuff. That's purely based around a client's specific needs. The electrician's not going to know that, or the engineer or the designer's not going to know that. They may have spoken to the client, and the client may have said, I've got a ton of really sensitive equipment, I'd like some kind of surge or over voltage protection to protect from
DNO
switching loads, not so much DNO transients, but the various organisations that are controlling surge for us, or the equipment types, reckon 80% of the surges come from within the property, whether that's commercial, industrial, or whatever. from internal switching loads. So if you've got
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I can see
air
that.
conditioners, if you've got air handlers, you've got big
Inverters,
motors,
yeah.
pumps, inverters. Even in your house, Paul, you'll start switching lights on, and as you switch lights on, you get slight surges.
Yeah.
The more sensitive equipment comes, some of it starts to get a little bit sensitive to that, or it might be at the cheaper end of the market, might not have all the same protection. It might not like that. So those kinds of things we're finding that are affecting equipment more than the surge coming in.
Yeah, I found since it's coming, I mean, obviously on my railway, I found that the Type 1s, we have Type 1s built directly onto the mains, and we found a lot of them have been faulty, defective. We've replaced them. They don't last that long. And also we found a lot of the ticket vending machines are very, very susceptible. The hard drives in them, there's some real sensitive electronic equipment in them. So what we're doing now is on all the new ticket vending machines, we're putting in Type 3 inside the fuse spur next to that unit to try and afford some protection to protect the sensitive hard drives. Yeah, it's an issue that we're now looking at more and more and more. We're doing some studies on SPD across the route, and I'm finding it fascinating, but I don't like, personal opinion, danger, personal opinion time, I don't like SPDs inside consume units. I would rather them, if you were ever going to do a board change, put in a double pole isolator, because it makes isolation and maintenance, and put the SPD with the isolator. Because then there's more space in the board.
Great, I get that. Great for commercial, industrial, but a lot of domestic scenarios.
No, that's what I do in domestic.
But some buildings and
like the Mantel units.
You're so restricted.
This is the problem though. You think about the electrics of old, 6-way Wilex or 4-way Wilex if you're going back in time, or the old lead coffin fuses. So you've got old tiny little spaces under stairs. Look how big the boards are getting. Even if you double stack them, these things are getting huge, and they're just going to get bigger and bigger. And I'm going to make a prediction, because I said this to you earlier on in the day. I said in 10 years time you are going to have new fuse boards with consume units, new consume units with SPD by default. You're going to have AFDD where applicable, i.e. when there's enough current for them to be warranted to be used. You're going to have RCD, and to prevent spurious tripping, there'll be RCBOs. I think you're going to have touch voltage monitoring to try and mitigate for this the PME losses, broken pens on the supply network, and I think that's going to be the default. These boards are going to basically almost be double stacker, and the top bit's just going to be the smart bit. And for all that, you're going to want an RJ45, because you'll probably have circuit breakers that are Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, or individual CTs on them as well.
Well, smart systems are definitely the way forward.
It's happening.
It is going to be
whether
happening.
we want it or not. It's happening. It's coming.
And if we're going to incorporate smart systems with a consumer unit, you just introduced a piece of delicate equipment into something that could start that requires protecting.
Yeah.
So,
apart from 5G, because 5G can go and suck. I'm not having smart meters in my house.
If it's a free phone involved.
The stuff that I've read up on 5G worries me, and yet there is an equal amount of counter marketing, propaganda, whatever, that says there's not enough long-term information. But yet when you read stuff from the 40s and the 50s that says high frequency waves actually can cause harmful effects, and all you've got to do is drive or stand near one of those huge mobile towers to feel yourself cooking, because you can feel your body warming up. The government and people
I'm going to get
say,
a caravan and I'm moving there, and I'll cut down on my central heating bills, and I'm in.
Yes, there we go.
I'll get some pigeons so I can communicate with Paul, because obviously he's going to stop using his phone.
No, I'm not. I'm just not going to get a 5G phone. Everyone's going to hate me now. All the comments in the blog are going to go, you're negative, you're a naysayer, there's no evidence.
No,
let me tell you something. I have read so much info, and I read an IET journal on it yesterday.
Must be true.
No. The IET journal is very, very, very defensive, and basically is very standoffish and says, well, yeah, we can see there could be, but there's not enough evidence. And basically, when you read a lot of these very, very good, well put together reports, it basically says you're going to need to give this 15 to 20 years at least for the evidence to come.
With anything new,
yes,
you're kind of stuffed. You can't. You just got to suck it and see and hope.
Yeah.
I mean, look at some of the installation methods. Rubber grommets inside metal knockout boxes.
Yeah.
Okay, we need to make sure that the cable's not been nicked by the metal boxes. Okay then, show me a property 30 years old with a nicked cable because no one put a grommet 30 years ago. I haven't really found any. but we all still fit those grommets because it's a best practice, and you never know. But
See, I don't.
you found one?
I don't fit rubber grommets, so I'm Mr. Controversy. I put two 20mm conduits with proper bushes and couplers into the conduit. So I don't need to, because it's a nice smooth aperture for my cable to come in and out, and for the next bloke to make his life so much easier.
I'm not condoning leaving the rubber grommets out of the boxes, by the way. I'm just saying we fitted those.
Rubber grommets are so 1970s, by the way. You are showing your age now, because rubber grommets, man, come on, seriously? Do you? I mean, okay, I don't do much house bashing anymore.
You mean the box is not wooden anymore?
Yeah, that asbestos is all gone as well from the boards now. Yeah. They got rid of it. Apparently it's dangerous for you. Good in a fire, but it's dangerous for you when you constantly sitting in your board sniffing it constantly. Because we always used to do that, didn't we? No, that's not funny. Okay, right. So everybody switched off now, or they're really angry at us and they're going to launch a campaign against us. Which, either way, the internet's a weird thing. I'm going to ask the usual question. You know what the usual question is?
No.
It's a probing question. If you had to choose, if you were given the choice, what would you, for the rest of your living days, would you choose, Star Wars or Star Trek? You go to an island.
Star Trek.
Good man. Which series?
Oh.
Yeah, see? So there's a school of thought amongst the people that have done this.
I kind of like Enterprise, but I also like New Generation, but it's a bit corny.
Enterprise?
The new one.
The new one?
The new one. Yeah, I like that back to basics kind of stuff. But I like the movies that they're doing as well. The latest movies.
Yeah, the latest movies were very good.
So that's kind of cool, but they've gone for all that new upmarket, super cool tech. Whereas when you look at the original series, which is when it was supposed to be set against, they're all like big push buttons and stuff. So
So, but you mentioned you like the Next Generation. If you pick, or Deep Space Nine, or Voyager.
No, Deep Space Nine is not a contender.
Fuck.
No.
Okay.
Deep Space Nine, not a contender. No, not contender. So it's either going to be Voyager.
Okay. Yeah.
It's going to be Voyager. It's going to be Next Generation, or it's going to be Enterprise.
See how much this splits the industry, though. It just it shatters the industry apart, because you've got some people who love Star Wars, which I do like Star Wars because I've got a lightsaber and all that rest of it. But I still love Star Trek DS9. Although the new Picard series trailer, I totally freaked out when that came on. They're making 20 years later of the Next Generation.
Yeah.
So before we go, so that's that.
I'd just like to clear up.
Go on.
The reason I like Star Trek is because they actually take modern tech and incorporate it. So when they talk about tachyon beams and all that kind of stuff, they've nicked it from science of the day, which is where you got Ericsson's T, whatever it was, the flip phone.
Yeah.
Which was inspired by the communicator.
Yeah, it was.
Lots and lots of the tech we use is inspired by
Star Trek.
God,
yeah, massively.
Yeah, so everyone's saying, "Oh, Star Trek, that's really crap." That is. Where's my smartphone?
Yeah, I know. No, I don't disagree with you, to be honest with you. Right, okay, so that's that question. Last bit, bit more probing now. If we could call it the State of the Union, maybe the state of the industry, the state of a trade, the state of a marketing entity, whatever you want to call it. Where do you think this industry is now? As if you had to score the electrical industry on a 1 to 10 scale, where would you say it currently is? And you can make a number of scores. So you can say competence of sparks, competence of regulatory bodies, quality of the regulations.
I think they've all got their own individual marketing schemes, quite fluid.
So what do you think of the industry?
I couldn't possibly comment, but
not on behalf of NAPIT. Obviously, none of this is on behalf of his employer NAPIT.
I do think competency of individuals has suffered over the years.
God, yeah, massive.
I do think that some of the training that they get, even on apprentice schemes, isn't really as tough and stringent as it should be.
Yes.
Albeit, I don't think we check the work of electricians as often as we should once they are out in the workplace. And I don't mean that from a competent person scheme. I mean, you can't be given a card and be deemed to do what you feel without any. You have to be competent in the job you're doing, and you need to be checked and double checked and make sure you're still competent doing that. Otherwise, it's kind of pointless. So I think competence is everybody's problem at the minute. Everybody wants everything for free.
I think the industry has a massive behaviour issue. I've done jobs where I did a railway station where every single person who worked on that station did have a JRB card. They were a long-standing company who, funny enough, went bankrupt on that project, and this was an industry big player, one of the top 10 players that went bankrupt on this job, and yet still the behaviours of the electricians and the lack of skills, or maybe the complacency, we ended up finishing the job with 5,500 snags. This was one railway station with 2 platforms, 5,500 defects. So this is kind of one of the reasons why I don't hold umbrage in the gold card being that standard anymore, although it is something to aspire to, but it's an MOT on the day.
It's if you look on their website, they'll tell you it's not a competence card. It clearly states on CSCS website that those cards are not competency cards. It's basically proof of the person on the picture on the front is who they are, and that they pass some exams.
But the trouble is there is a definition, there is a difference. So the CSCS say it isn't a competency card, but they license the ECS scheme to the JRB, and they say it is a competency card. So there's conflict there.
No, it's a CSCS card run by the JRB.
Yes, but this is the ECS variant.
Oh, sorry, yeah, but the ECS can say what it likes. The CSCS have said, no, it's not.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with you. That's like the parent-child thing, but they do it under license. But the thing for me is it's like an MOT. Electricians' competency is like an MOT. So me as a practicing electrician, I am crap. I am not competent anymore. Now I am currently rewiring my house, and it takes me 50 times longer, but I'm doing it myself, and I'm doing as much of a quality job as I can. And even so, when I finish, somebody's probably going to rip it to pieces and snag it, but I don't think I'm doing quite a bad job.
You started rewiring?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, fuck off. Anyway, I'll cut that bit out. Yeah, I have. You can see the sockets next to you. They're at 600 for finished floor level.
It's a clown one. It's boing. It's like out the one. Okay.
This is all lies. I'm going to have to do a video now that shows my wiring. I will do, actually. But
no, I'm only joking. It's really nice. It's lovely.
It's a thermosetting cable. Didn't have to do that. It's
I know that you've used conduit because I can still see some of it in the wall. And
you can actually. The cover isn't on there actually on the data. You can see the conduits. It's like I haven't finished the data. That all gets done in one go. But yeah, so I think a lot of it's attitudes. I love electricians that are driven to self-improve, self-learn, and keep up to date. I think the ones that just sit and say, "I did 4-year apprenticeship. I'm good." Yes, you are good. Because when you've done a proper apprenticeship, you know how to pull a cable from A to B, you know the difference between a switch and a contactor, and generally you can pretty much wire anything up. We are now heading into the world of microelectronics, power electronics, small switches, control software and relays. It's a whole different game changer, and if you're not updating and doing your CPD, which is the term, then you are going to fall flat on your arse, and that is a big problem. For me, I've got smart boards going on my railway. Now, my guys installing those smart boards, they're having to be trained by Schneider to commission all this stuff, and I've been there with them, and we've all of us have stood there and gone, blimey, I feel so old. Blimey, I feel out of date. Oh, I didn't know I had to do that. Oh, I didn't know this, and it's a real eye-opener. So for me, I think behaviour is key. For any contractor, any individual, it's that will to want to keep learning. If I find there is a lot of electricians on social media, well, not so many now, but ones that are quite bitter and angry and twisted, pointless, complete fucking waste of energy, complete fucking waste of time. You're going to get absolutely nowhere if you're ranting and raving in any way, shape or form. That's a given. You're absolutely pissing in the wind, excuse my language, by doing it. It achieves nothing. If you've got something that you're frustrated with, work in a positive way to try and influence and change it, or do something about it. But if you're just going to throw aspersions and chuck mud at each other, good luck, because you're going to get nowhere and you're just going to end up with BT Spark.
No, absolutely.
Which is what happens. Right, so yeah, I think we both agree the industry's got a bit to go.
It has gone. We've also got to look at, if you go back 30 years, all we had was newspapers and magazines. So we didn't literally write a newspaper every 30 seconds and give it to our mates or post it. But now we've got social media. We've got photos and photographs, and so every single thing is highlighted straight away, and it's like, look, this is crap and that's crap, and they've done this and he did that and who did that and she's been ripped off and he's done. Yeah, because it's in real time. If you go back 30 years, there is an argument that went on and was the same. The difference is we're just highlighting it more now. Social media, all of those things. I'm not saying it's got better or worse. I'm just saying we have the ability to highlight things more than we used to.
When I was the NICQS for EDF, it was when you work in a big or contracting company, there are 4 walls and that's it, and the governor's the governor, and the only time you really saw out the industry is if you were lucky to go to a trade event or Pro Electrician magazine. That was basically it. It was, yeah. Or you got the NIC manual. The NIC I don't think they do that manual anymore, which is a shame.
Oh, I stopped doing that a long time ago.
It was a really, really good manual, especially the loose leaf one. That was it. That was your portable knowledge. It was phenomenal. But only as a QS were I could peek outside the 4 walls because I had the NIC there to give me external information, magazines and all that sort of stuff. But that was the only time. Sorry, back in then it was the only time when you could do any of that. Now you can go on LinkedIn and you can research anything. You can go on Twitter and get some news and updates or gossip and lies depending on what your thing is. Social media now is so quick.
Yeah,
for everything. It's mind-blowing, and it's there. Photographs, videos, there's no running away from it, there's no hiding from it, and yet I genuinely feel that our industry, and this is my personal opinion, we are absolute dinosaurs when it comes to dealing with social media. Now on one hand, I know why, because there are some nasty, spiteful, weird, freaky trolls and morons out there
we do have
who will not do their own goddamn research and act like entitleists or are brainwashed into believing that this is the way forward and there's no other way.
There's no entitleability. You have to earn what you get.
Yeah, but on the other hand, there's some really good guys who see there's a challenge and a problem and want to do something and know that they can't do anything unless they do something themselves or work together. And I think that's quite nice. I think that's what makes E5 is quite different, is we're quite an eclectic bunch of different chaps who all have one common bond, and girls, common bond to do stuff. And over time, that will just keep going and going and going and growing and growing and growing. We're not going to be a CPS before you even think. But yeah, I think that's quite a good thing. But it'd be nice for more of the industry bodies to do stuff. I mean, you guys have done a little bit on social media. I'd love to get hold of your Twitter account. I wouldn't, especially on a Friday night if I'm drunk. Yeah, you got a Twitter account. Friday night and I'm drunk. I wouldn't do that. You do have a Twitter account, do we? Yeah.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
Yeah, Mike Andrews is on Twitter.
Oh yeah, I see from Twitter. Yeah, I do see them from time to time, but Twitter's difficult.
It's hard to keep up.
Well, it's hard to keep up, and by the time my fat fingers have text something, it's like the thread's 10 minutes old, and in Twitter world, that's
on my Twitter.
Prehistoric.
I looked on my Twitter messages the other day because again, I didn't grow up with all this, so it is social media. I do find challenging. I found direct messages from people from about 6 months ago. I hadn't even read them. Sorry.
The thing I find difficult is someone will ask you a question, you think, oh, I'll try and answer a question, and then before you know where you are, the alarm's gone off and there's the little red timer's gone round because you only get so many characters.
Yeah.
So it's really difficult to put together an answer to a question sometimes.
So we're going to end here because it goes on way too long and everybody's in a coma now. Last thing we're going to say is September. Alex. We are going to be at Alex. E5 are going to be at Alex. Napit, you're going to be at Alex. You're going to be doing loads of talking.
We're going to do loads of stuff.
Yeah, they're going to be doing loads of stuff at Alex. We're going to be there as well, supporting everybody who goes. The one in Coventry is the big one. That's where loads of the E5 guys and girls go because it's central. We're staying in a hotel. We're going to have a curry night. So yeah, if you can get to Alex in Coventry, please come. Hopefully there'll be some good stuff there as well, which we'll be doing. If not, we'll be there to just support the trade and industry. So come up and speak to us. If we're busy, just come up and speak to us anyway. We'll always shake everybody's hands. And I think we'll end it here, really.
Yeah, perfect.
So on behalf of me and Richard, thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourself and each other.
See you in September.